welcome to Small Bike Stuff. I'm not here alone. I've got Nikki.
What's up?
And if you don't know Nikki already, Nikki's from New Zealand, but she's actually got a YouTube channel and an Instagram profile, and you go by the name of Kiwicruisette.
That's the one.
Yeah, so search Kiwi and then start typing cruise, and I guarantee it'll pop up. On Instagram anyway, and on YouTube she's made some insane videos. You just recently got back from the States.
Yeah.
Yep, you've been in and out of New Zealand as long as I've known you. And funny story for me is that I actually have never really hung out with Nikki before, but I've known you for about 6, 7, 8 years now on the internet.
Like we've hung out.
Yeah.
But we haven't. That's
not really. Yeah.
Social media's like that, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So, I was living in Southeast Asia, I was living in Thailand, working over there, and you were living in Vietnam at the same time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really into bikes too much back then. I'd ridden a few back in New Zealand, it wasn't a thing for me. So, I remember becoming friends with you on Facebook somehow, purely I think because you were doing the same thing as me.
It was that, yeah. Someone said, I know someone who's going to Southeast Asia, here's their Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when I messaged you, you're like, I'm not even in the same country as you. I was like, oh, okay.
Done. Oh well. But when we became friends, I remember having a look at your profile, and there was like a couple of photos of you on motocross bikes and stuff. So you've been around bikes for your whole life, or did you just start on them when you were young? What happened?
Yeah, so I was 17 when I first threw my leg over. I was such a wussy child, so I wouldn't have dared actually do it earlier, but they were around me. So my dad always had motorbikes, my brothers rode. I just found out my mum also used to ride.
Really?
Which was really cool.
Was that a secret?
Well, it wasn't a secret. It's just that she only did it when she was like a young woman. So she would have been like 18, 19, 20.
Cool.
And then got in an accident, smashed her front teeth out, didn't ride again.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Actually, one of my gang members, he had a wild accident once and it stopped him from riding, and then he came back into it from small bikes. So, it's one of those things. Some people, have a massive accident. It's like, heck, no, I'm not going to touch them. So dirt bikes, and then what? Did you like own a road-going motorbike, or was that Vietnam first thing?
Nah. So I got my dirt bike first. I was 17. Got confident on that, and then I moved to a scooter on the road.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, on a scooter. Turns out you can't go on highways on a scooter. No. So I figured that one out pretty quick. Upgraded to a 250. It was a GZ 250.
Yep.
Love cruises. And that allowed me to go on the highways, park right outside university, cheap insurance, cheap, all that stuff. And I rode 250s all the way through the rest of my uni days, all the way through Vietnam, Mongolia, which we'll talk about soon. That was a 150. It was a
Shiny Ray Mustang.
Battle axe. But then now I'm on a 650, so awesome. I wouldn't go any higher than that though.
No, exactly.
I like
so you started
bikes.
on exactly. And I mean, small bike stuff is about small bikes, but I like bikes of all sizes. If you know me well, you know I work in a motorcycle shop, and 5 days out of the week I'm generally riding giant Harley Davidsons and sports bikes and things like that. So.
No discrimination.
No, discrimination is limitation. If you discriminate against anything, you're just limiting yourself. Like, what's the point in being like, I don't like that? You can just limit yourself if you want to. That's cool, but not me.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you lived in Vietnam. It's an interesting place. Everything you can find in a Western country you can find over there, but some of the attitudes can be totally different. And I remember you posting once about going on a ride, maybe up to Mui Ne, to the beach or something like that, and you were saying, people just staring at me, all the guys looking at me left, right, and centre like, here's this blonde chick with short shorts on. All the gear all the time.
No rules over there. Yeah.
And riding to and from the beach. And when you went over there, was it like, hey, I'm going to get a big bike? Because in Southeast Asia, that was a big bike. You had
I had a Dalim 250.
A Dalim 250
bike.
cruiser, yeah. And over there, generally, you've got a 110 or a 125 twist and go or a semi-automatic. And whole family goes on it. We know the story. But you had a big bike.
Yeah. I mean, they were staring at me because of the bike, but and maybe the shorts. But I was staring at them because on their mopeds, they're carrying panes of glass and big crates of beer and like their dog, their goat, and all their children. So they're very, very skilled. The reason why I didn't get the moped was because I had been riding around on this GZ 250 in New Zealand, and I was just you do need a little bit more throttle if you're going to be doing road trips. And I was doing, like you say, up to Mui Ne. Good memory, by the way.
Thanks.
And I do road trips most weekends. But that being said, I would ride with girls on mopeds, so it wasn't. I didn't really need it, but it's hard to go down in CCs.
Yeah, it's really hard to do, and that's the true sign of someone who's been riding bikes for a long time. If they've got a whole ton of big bikes, but there's still a small bike in the shed, you can tell they've been riding for ages because eventually you just go back.
Is it like a circle?
Yeah, it is. Well, you've got a tiny little Honda SS50
I
still.
do, my SS50, you're right.
Yeah.
And I almost took that on this trip I'm about to embark on.
Yeah, I know, that would have been incredible.
Super impractical, but we love that.
Absolutely. So, basically, your biking history is pretty interesting. I lived in Southeast Asia from 2013 to 2015, so I lived there for 2 years. And then I came back to New Zealand, and you never came back. You came back for holidays and things like that, but generally you were somewhere.
I was hooked. I'm a travel babe.
Yeah, absolutely. Canada, Vietnam, you were in the States for a while. Did you do a whole bunch of riding in Vietnam, or did you... So you say you went around every single weekend. Moi Nay is pretty close. I'm going to throw up a map on the screen at this point.
Oh, dope. Yeah,
Why not?
No, I did the full length. So I actually put my bike on a train. And I went to Hanoi, then I drove further up, right up to the border of China, and then drove all the way down. And this was with 6 of my closest friends. But they were friends from different walks of life. So I put out a Facebook post. I said, hey, I'm actually it was a month-long trip, top to bottom. Who wants to come?
Lots of people.
Yeah, lots of people want to come.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again. It was great, but what happens is you end up having to really mediate among people.
Yeah,
and you know what? It's something you should do once. But you know, someone is in charge of maps, and then that person, if they get it wrong, then someone's sad, and they want to stop, toilet break, food break. Someone wants to sleep in a nicer hotel than the one we've ended up at. A lot of complaining, a lot of compromise, and that's actually good for you to learn. But then once you build your confidence with a group of people who help you out, you know, you get the amount of times we had to tow each other.
Oh, I know, right? It's just insane.
You know, you gotta have those people around.
Exactly. In Southeast Asia, I did a recently, and you've seen the video if you watch this channel, Malaysia to Thailand. Nothing really on the scale of what you did, but still it was 3 friends going over and riding long distance in that kind of area and doing the same thing. And I kind of had organised it all. I'm really... some of my friends would call me bossy sometimes, but I just know what's realistic from having lived over there.
Yeah.
And we were going to a part of the world where I spoke a little bit of the language, and another part where I'd been to before and they'd never been. So I understand that dynamic. For me, I just kind of said, all right, we're doing this today. Does anyone want to do anything else? And usually the answer was, we don't know what else there is to do, so...
And having a leader is great. No, the worst is having 6 people who don't want to be the leader.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's something I'm probably going to pursue in the future. Well, if last year had planned out a different way, I would have had completed my first trip already with a whole bunch of people.
Oh, like bike tours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yes, I would do that. Pay to be on Callan's bike tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Through Southeast Asia, there's a lot of border hopping and stuff you can do when the world's normal. And if you're watching this in like 50 years, and you're like, what do you mean the world's normal? Google 2020, you'll find out. And yeah, it's a really cool part of the world. The countries are all similar in some ways, but they're all completely different from each other in other ways. You've been everywhere. You did Burma, Myanmar as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We rented bikes. No, we rented bikes. I mean, I just met random people at the hostel. Should we rent bikes today? Yes, let's do it. And there were little electric bikes though, but mopeds, electric mopeds.
Okay,
I haven't really seen them around here.
No, not huge.
Ahead of the time over in Myanmar.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but all those like sort of Southeast Asian countries, they all sort of get around on 2 wheels. I mean, it's not
100%.
like roads are not built for.
And that's
for cars.
You're right. And that's one of the things I learned when I was living in Thailand is that people say, oh, you live there, you ride here in New Zealand, you rode there. Where do you feel more comfortable? Southeast Asia, 100%.
Yeah, I mean,
no doubt about it.
They're good drivers.
Everyone, well, it's not necessarily that they aren't,
not
because they are. A lot of people are good drivers. I mean, in a lot of those countries, cars are quite new. But the big thing I've found is that every single person, whether they're in a car, a truck, a bus, or on a motorcycle, they've ridden a motorcycle. Whereas over here in a Western country, I'd say less than 20% of the people actually physically ride their own motorcycle, or have, or even touch a motorcycle in their whole life.
They're not looking for us here, are they? There's a lot of cars hitting bikes in here and in the States. There, it's like everyone knows to look for motorcycles, and you can anticipate people's movements there. Yeah. It's insane. You go around a roundabout, and you think, like, you really think I'm going to have to claw my way out of this thing. 100%. It just works.
It works, 100%. If you hesitate, that's when you're causing the accidents. Did you have any accidents in Asia?
No, I don't know. I mean, I could have, and I'll just blank them out. I mean, you always have like a couple, like little bumpy bumps, but I never rode off a bike. You drop them occasionally. You take a bit of a shifty turn, but no, I've never actually had any major bike accidents. Okay. Touch wood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knock.
I got knocked off.
I'm a very chilled out rider though. You might be a bit more extreme.
I wouldn't say I'm extreme. I'd just say when I was living in Southeast Asia, I'm a young man. that part of your brain hasn't kicked in where you're like, I need to live forever yet. And so you're just hammering
Invincible.
it everywhere. I used to commute an hour to work and an hour home along the main road between Bangkok and Pattaya, which is a highway. I lived like kind of halfway between those two cities. I tell people who lived in Bangkok, I actually kind of lived in the next province over. Secret's out.
Oh, fake news.
Just that clout. Sounds better. Yeah, I lived in Bangkok.
I tell everyone I live at the Mount too, which is like the cooler part of where we actually live.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. Only overseas though. I noticed over there that, it's hard to say. How do I put it? I got knocked off once in Southeast Asia, and it was equally me just undertaking everyone and going in between everyone, but it was also the car in front of me not looking at all, and they just pulled into a side road and I went straight into them. Thailand's got this weird road rule where you have to be on the left side of the road if you're on a motorcycle. If there's ever a checkpoint anywhere, like, you better have your cash ready. If you're not on the left side of the road, they will stop you and they'll take your money.
Now I think about it, you're right.
You have to be on the left side of the road.
The trucks are on the right. You don't want to be there anyway.
No, you don't. And my bike wasn't really faster than the traffic anyway, but yeah, I remember commuting to and from every single day through the hectic pollution, and I look back on those times with great memories. You know?
Yeah. We've probably all got cancer in our lungs now from huffing on those truck fumes.
Yeah, I used to wear a white shirt to work every day, and it was hot, so I'd just be like, I'll just wear this white button-up shirt, and I did it once. And it was like grey by the time I got to work.
And it was sweaty too.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Stop.
Yeah. It's different. It's different,
man.
isn't it? Okay, so Vietnam was awesome. Then you left Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Went to Canada straight away?
No, I did like a little tiki tour around Europe. Did that whole like, put your backpack on. I taught English around Europe.
Yep.
A lot harder than teaching in Vietnam, let me tell you. The students in Asia want to be there.
Yeah.
European students want to party instead.
Yeah, okay.
But that was cool. I got to see some of Europe. And then I did like India as well.
Yeah.
And didn't bike there, but I've seen a lot of people doing amazing trips through India.
There's some incredible parts that you can ride through. I mean, the whole country's insane. A friend of mine, once again, internet friend, Ed March, he's done a ton of riding on a Honda C90, a little cub. He did Malaysia to UK overland. And at that point, it was 2009 or 12, one of those 2 years. I can't remember which one. But it was hard to ride through Myanmar at that point. He had to ship his bike from Thailand to India, and he was riding through India, and he's got footage of like going down the highway in the middle of nowhere, and a truck's just in front of him and starts passing him, and then gets in front of him and just flips. And it's the most mind-blowing thing you've ever seen.
Like the truck flips?
Yeah, just flips for no reason. Kind of just starts swaying and then flips over, and the footage all stops, and he explains afterwards that he got accosted by the locals. And they were like, you must have caused it, you're the foreigner here, and he pulled out the camera and showed them. They're like, oh, sorry. On you go, keep going. Yeah. But I mean, I actually, when I got knocked off in Southeast Asia, I didn't do any damage to that car. I literally just kind of like came off because I was trying to avoid them. I just got on my bike and rode away. I was too scared to stop.
Oh, don't stop.
No.
Yeah. If there's, actually the rule in Vietnam was if you see cops, drive faster, get out of there, because they'll try to take your bike. If they get your keys, you will owe them as much money as they ask from you, and you better pay it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit sick actually, and we shouldn't be advertising the fact that there is like the unspoken rule, but it was at the time.
It does exist.
And they will whack you with their battens if you don't stop. So
Yeah, I was
think smart, think quick.
Yeah, exactly. In early 2020, before the world shut down, I was lucky enough to be still overseas in Southeast Asia. I went on a quick holiday, and I was in Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, and riding a motorcycle, and it was the one day I didn't have my international driver's license in my pocket, and they only care in the big touristy towns. But they did. They stopped me on the side of the road. We got a license. I pulled it out, my New Zealand full motorcycle license, and they were like, no, it's not the international license. 500 baht. I tried flexing with my local language skills and everything, like, come on, this is ridiculous. No. And I just realized after about probably 15 seconds of opening my mouth and the look on his face changing that I just got up and just walked over and started handing over the money. And this wasn't a dodgy bribe. I didn't have the right thing I was meant to have. It is the law over there. And it was only $20 New Zealand.
That's the price you pay.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. But I mean, you went to Mongolia.
Yes,
and you did motorcycling around there.
I did.
Once again, this guy Ed that I talked to, he's done a couple of Mongolia trips. Now, what he did is he flew a whole bunch of people to Mongolia, and they bought bikes in a local market.
You can,
and they rode back to the UK. But how did you get your bike? What did you do? Why Mongolia?
Okay, so my brother he's also an intrepid rider, so he actually was the one that really like got the cogs turning on. Yeah. So I'd done off-road riding, I'd done on-road riding, I'd never done adventure riding. It's a whole different kettle of fish. He had done Mongolia. I picked him up at the airport when he did his trip. This is the first one, and I just saw like this total radiance coming from him. He was just glowing.
So he went before you.
He did it before me, and I said right then and there, I said I want to do the trip you did, and he wanted to do it again at some
of course.
point.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was 2018, I think, and I said to him, I have some time off, I'm going to Mongolia, or maybe he said that he was going to, anyway, we ended up in Mongolia together, and so he already had that knowledge of what to do, so we rented the Shine Rays, little Chinese bikes, farm bikes. They are beasts. You think like, oh, this is going to be impractical. It's perfect because everyone rides them, there's parts galore, people know exactly how to fix them. We rented them, people do buy them, and then they flip them for, you know, half the price when they return back.
Okay.
I honestly would probably recommend that. My brother ended up having about 8-9 punctures. I had a pretty sweet bike, but you would have less drama with a new one. And what is it, like,
you're paying like
$500? Yeah, maybe a grand.
Maybe, and then you sell it for $500. So you're only paying $500 for a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Which is cheap rental, really.
It is cheap rental. So we did 3 weeks. We just went. Actually, we didn't even stay together. We spent the first week and a half together before we realized we did not mesh
siblings.
Well.
No, not happening.
No, and we had discussed it. We already knew that we weren't like, we never really got along like amazingly, so we made a deal. We're like, look, if we get to a point where we can't handle each other, we'll split up. And that happened. It happened, but it was okay. I was like, no hard feelings, but I think that he was actually pretty impressed. So he had taught me, you know, how to tie like the right knots around my luggage, and you know how to read the map. We had this big paper map.
Yeah.
You know how to do like, and there's no roads. We would literally just be driving across
every trip I've done, I'm lucky enough I can just throw my phone on my mount. I've got 4G reception usually. Even in Thailand and Vietnam, you've got really good phone reception the whole time.
Yeah.
And you just kind of, not the whole day, but you just be like, I want to go here. Oh, that's the general route. Sweet.
Yeah.
But you're not.
We had none of that. We had a paper map, and I'd say, okay, I want to go to like Hatgal, which is a beautiful lake. And so you'd get like your directions on your phone, and you just make sure that you're like, because you have the GPS satellite, and you just make sure your blue dot is going in that direction. You go across like, you know, big open steppes, like sandy plains, mountains, grasses, and this is how I describe it. It's like being the first person on Earth. Yeah. There's no roads. Of course, there's nomads, and they're actually everywhere. You can't see them all the time, but when you set up your tent, you just throw it up anywhere. They're very curious. You'll see them. They'll poke over the hills, see their little silhouettes. Sometimes they'll ride past on a horse. Yeah. Very curious, nothing to be afraid of. Yeah. And in fact, when we rented the bikes, the lady said, you know, you can go up to they're called gers.
Gers, yeah.
Yeah. You can go up there, and they won't, you do a lot of charades. Yeah. You know, you just sort of say, you know, me, tent, next to you, and they love having you. Yeah, you're such a novelty. And usually you bring a couple of little trinkets that you give to their kids, and they'll give you vodka, without a doubt. Yeah. Mongolia is this beautiful fusion of Chinese and Russian
culture, just all in together. Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I did that on my last night. So I had spent a week and a half alone. I went to the Gobi Desert on my own, and of course at that point, like,
didn't your chain come off or something?
My chain fell off, and here's the thing that people will probably find mind-boggling. I'm not mechanically minded at all. Yeah. I could not fix a bike if my life depended on it. I love riding it, but I keep the economy going with mechanics bills and tow trucks.
Thank you. I work at a motorcycle shop.
Can't fix it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, here we go. Actually, I have a couple of bikes I need you to look at.
Yeah, no problem at all. We'll sort it out. But yeah, so what did you do? Your chain's off in the middle of nowhere.
Chain's off, middle of nowhere. So I had to set my tent up because it was getting dark. Set my tent up, and you know, this is a very memorable moment because I was alone, and I could. Your mind plays tricks on you. You're in this tent. It's dark, and I heard this sound, and I peek out of my tent, and it's a herd of wild horses. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the moon's out. You can see their manes flowing. I'm
majestic and lovely.
So majestic. I immediately felt at peace. They were chewing the little grass all around my tent. I fell asleep. I said, if they're here, there's nothing scary out here. Yeah. So the next day I woke up and I realized I had this chain. I couldn't fix it myself. I had to walk. So I had downloaded all the maps on my phone for Mongolia so I could see there was a camp 10 kilometers away. So I put my hat on, my little sun cloth, and I just walked. I walked and walked and walked. Hours later, I arrive at the camp just as this convoy of jeeps rocks up. So
Really?
there's people that travel through Mongolia like fancy.
Yeah, okay.
And so had I waited, I could have just tagged a ride with these guys.
Yeah, but no.
But, you know, that's how it works. You gotta...
The story's better this way.
Yeah. So I rock up at this camp at the same time as this convoy of, you know, rich tourists show up. And through charades, you know, I was sort of explaining that I've got this chain's fallen off. I show them a photo of my tent, show them the map, and they go, "What? You're here alone? Get in the car." So we get in the car. 2 minutes later, you know, they hammer it on and I'm off. And I go to the next town, I buy a new chain,
awesome,
you know, and I pay a local guy who's just sitting outside a restaurant. You know, he chucks it on using a stone. We don't have any tools. Yeah, my brother's taken the tools.
So lovely. Thanks.
But yeah, we're off. And that's actually a big theme, right? So there's always going to be people that will be willing to help you.
Yeah.
Sure, you might need a little bit of money or, you know, whatever. If you have a bit of time up your sleeve, never, ever leave yourself without a little bit of leeway on trips like these.
Yeah.
And patience, a lot of patience.
Yeah.
And just faith that no matter what, you will come out of this okay. You know, of course, there's like a 0.1% chance you'll be like murdered for your organs. But don't think about that.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet.
No, not yet.
Hasn't yet. The biggest theme of all my trips is human kindness. People want to help. They're curious. What you're doing to them is fascinating.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to be part of it. The story that you're going to tell will have them in it.
One of the most common questions I got asked that I did not expect to be asked when I rode through Malaysia and Thailand. In Malaysia especially because they speak, well, there's two main ethnicities there, ethnic Malay and then Chinese Malay. And then you've got the Indian Malay as well. So there's three. And every single one of them speaks a little bit of English. Some of them speak really fluent. Some of it's kind of pidgin English. But almost every single person we came across would say to us, "Are you guys mechanics?" And we say, "Why?" And they say, "Well, why would you ride a motorcycle this small, that far, if you're not a mechanic? You'd have to be stupid." And you're like, "No, we're not. We're not mechanics." And
but you are a mechanic.
No. I'm a service manager. I just tell the mechanics what to do. It's a lot easier. The mechanics get all the full representation of skills. I just kind of know what they're doing in some respects and just try and make it happen smoothly. But without them, I'd be nothing. And yeah, I work on all my own bikes for sure. But people that do motorcycle mechanicking is a job.
That's the right word.
Yeah, you can tell I'm not one.
But you don't let that stop you doing these trips.
No, 100% no.
Same as me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you did, then you'd never do anything.
We took a small generic toolkit and it went on one bike, and there was three of us, and we used it. We did use it on the first day, and we used it on the second to last day. I got one puncture, and that was it. And
did you do your own tyre?
No, we were near a shop.
Perfect.
Just rolled straight in. Well,
like
I lied.
$couple bucks.
We had stopped at a 7-Eleven for lunch because there's nothing else around and we're starving. And you just kind of get to they're really good. And stopped there, and then I remember looking all over the ground, and there was just like chicken bones everywhere because people obviously eat from the carts outside the 7-Eleven and just throw their rubbish away. And I looked at them, and then anyway, riding around a corner about 2 hours later, I was like, man, it just feels weird. And I looked down, and my tire's about half height, and I'm like, okay, I've got a puncture. Put motorcycle mechanic or motorcycle shop into my maps on Google in southern Thailand, and nothing's coming up. We just kept riding, went off the main highway. I saw a shop with an air compressor, and I was like, tire, and he was like, pointed, and it was truck tires. So he just pumped my wheel up, and I had like another half an hour. So we kept riding down the road, and eventually we saw a little shop, and they sorted us out. But we used the tools so little that at the end of the trip, we were staying in this nice place in Bangkok. At the end of the trip, we always spoil ourselves, get us somewhere nice. And they had a security guy downstairs, and we're like, "Hey, do you want our toolkit?" And he was like, "No." We're like, "What?" He's like, "Once again, what? I'm not a mechanic. I pay someone to do my work. It's so cheap over there to get mechanic work done." We eventually managed to give it off to one of the other security guards. But yeah, just it blew my mind that they were like, "Well, why should I work on my bike? Why do I have to when there's 60 shops around?" Oh, yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, it's a bit more expensive to get your bikes repaired in New Zealand.
God, and in the States, it was like, not only was it expensive, but they were all booked out because COVID hit, and everyone thought, great, these are the people that didn't lose their jobs. Plenty of people kept their jobs, started working from home, had a bunch of disposable income, a whole bunch of time, and they needed a safe activity they could do alone. Everyone bought motorbikes, and then everyone broke their motorbikes, and the mechanics got booked out nationwide. It was impossible for me to find someone to help me.
I saw that a couple of times. You got were you in the middle of a national park maybe, and you got a puncture?
Yeah, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was my fault because that tire was bald.
Yeah.
I was pushing it. I'd ordered a set of tires 6 hours away, and I was just like, I had actually called people where I was. I called around. It was a Monday. Apparently, no shops are open on Mondays.
Okay,
Do you know about that?
No clue.
Okay. Well, over in the States, they all go riding on Sunday, Monday, and they keep the shop open Tuesday to Saturday.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I'm riding through Yellowstone, pop, oh no. So I pull over, and I have roadside assistance, of course, but because I'm in a national park, no siree, they can't get their tow trucks in.
It's not allowed, like a
bureaucracy
bureaucracy thing?
Yeah. Just kill me now. And I'd already paid for the service, so in the end, I had to use the one tow truck company that they let you use.
Okay.
$600 later, they tow me to the entrance of the park, not to a mechanic.
No.
Yeah, so they dumped me there, and of course it's like, by this point it's midnight, and I was stressed out because this is active grizzly bear population, and I'm by myself. It's middle of the night at that point. Before the tow truck came up, I was in a bush, had my little, I have bear spray in one hand, you know, I have an air horn in the other, and I'm in a bush, because I'm like, I want to be visible for the tow truck, but there's so many cars going past. The last thing I want is for someone to see me with a puncture alone, like vulnerable, because it's America at the end of the day. So I was just looking out for the big tow truck lights, and when he showed up, I jumped. And I think I gave him a fright.
Yeah, absolutely. And in case you, I kind of jumped the gun there about asking about that, but Nikki just did a giant, it doesn't matter. Nikki just did a giant trip, and I'm talking colossal, around the United States, and I would argue that a lot of American people themselves will never, ever do something like that in their life, and that's no discredit to them. Not many people get this opportunity. No. You are super lucky.
Very lucky.
And it's cool that you're taking this opportunity and taking advantage of it and doing something cool. Your attitude to riding is insane, and I've always been really, really impressed with that, and not just your attitude to riding, but in life in general, you're a very positive person.
Thanks,
and it's nice to see, because not everyone is. And especially the fact that you have got so many cool opportunities and you just take them and run with them. You're one of the few people I know that's ever... I might edit this out depending on how sensitive it is. It's not bad at all, but I just don't know whether it's safe to talk about it, or I should. But you're one of the only people I know that's won the green card lottery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. To me, I was like, I've heard about it, and then, I won it. And I'm like, what? Isn't that, a thing in movies?
Well, you can win it very easily if you're a New Zealand or Australian citizen, because we're only competing against people that apply from this slice of the world.
Okay,
Guess what? How many people apply from these countries? Not many, especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now.
And as a Kiwi in the States, you can get 6 months, I think, if you just fill out a form online. Something like that, ESTA.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know, something like that. You can just get 6 months, I think. Maybe just 3 months.
It's pretty pathetic.
But I mean,
3 months.
It's long enough for most Kiwis because they only want to go away for a short
but if you want to do a motorbike trip, good luck doing it in 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's get to that. You did a trip in the United States. You lived in Vietnam. You went around Europe. You ended up in Canada.
Yes, I did a couple years in Canada until my visa there ran out. I adore Canada. Montreal, shout out. Yeah. That's my real
French,
home.
Right?
Yeah, it's French.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say my real home. It's my other home.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed back there because I've outstayed my 2-year visa. But yes, I never spoke French, but they didn't mind.
No, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. It's a part of North America that most people outside of, I guess, Canada don't really hear or talk about.
Yeah.
It's just some of the...
Actually, one bad thing about it is they get so much snow and ice you can't have a motorcycle there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, miserable.
That's so lame. Snowmobiles.
Snowmobiles, yes.
Absolutely. I've got a family member, my cousin, lives in the United States, and he's just a snowmobile mad. That's his whole life. And I didn't realise, and really ignorantly, I didn't realise that was such a big thing. Of course, every single motorised form of transport has a massive following. So you went to the States, you worked for a massive company there, COVID came along, by job. And I remember talking to you at the time, and you were like, this has happened. We talked before it happened. We were messaging back and forth, and you were going, look, this might happen. I might lose my job. I'm thinking of doing a massive trip. I'm thinking of doing it on my Savage. It's got a lot of miles on it.
She's old.
Do you think it'll make it? I want to do the whole of the USA. And I actually remember thinking, that's a bit brave. Not the trip. The trip was fine, but on that bike, I was like, I don't know. Just having worked in a motorcycle shop, and you can get 10 of the same bike lined up, and 5 of them can be perfect, 3 of them can be absolutely crap, and 2 of them will be okay, but they keep having problems. And it just comes down to previous ownership and stuff like that. So you used the bike not because it was cool and you're like, hey, I want that bike. That was just your bike.
I just had that bike.
Yeah.
It was my commuter. That's how I got from home to the office.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a 96 Suzuki Savage, otherwise known as a Boulevard, I think, over here.
Yeah, or
S40.
LS
650.
Yeah.
It was bright sunshine yellow. I actually, when I first moved to San Francisco from Montreal, I said, yes, finally I can get a motorbike. And I went on Craigslist, and this one looked so nerdy. It had its windscreen. It was like, I don't know, there was just nothing appealing about it, which is why no one bought it. And it was on there, and I just kept going back to it. And it was a lady owner, and she had actually equipped it with all the stuff you need for touring.
Yeah.
Had a cigarette lighter input, had a Corbin seat, so comfortable. You know, had fog lights. It was actually, and hard case saddlebags. It was perfect. But I was buying it for a commuter, so I was commuting in back and forth, and then when I lost the job, I didn't have a ton of money. I got paid a little bit out in severance, which is why I was like, cool, okay, I can afford to at least do something now. Yeah. But I couldn't afford to buy a dual purpose, nice, thing that was really, really meant for a 48 state motor camping trip. And I did come to you because I knew that you would at least give me some sound advice.
Yeah.
I think people were just like, well, if it breaks down, it's a $1,600 bike. Yeah. You just ditch that thing, buy another one.
Get a different one. And that was it. And I think that's a real awesome thing that you've gone there. The old Kiwi attitude, run what you brun.
What's that one? Run what you brun?
Yeah. this is what I got.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to use, and it is what it is. And basically, a lot of us have that attitude in the small bike community here in New Zealand. We will just ride whatever, anywhere, and it's quite entertaining, not funny, but entertaining to see sometimes, online commentary, and someone will ask, hey, is this particular off-road route possible on my 1200cc BMW? And we'll reply, yeah, 45 of us rode it like last week on 150cc maximum bikes, and we had no problem at all.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome, and it's 650 Savage. That's like a big single cylinder, in case you don't know.
A thumper.
It's got a belt drive, I think, not a chain. Yeah.
Belt drive. I got that thing replaced too. It had never been replaced. So okay, I did have to get work done, and I had to stop at several places.
You had a big failure, didn't you?
Well, it wasn't a failure. So I actually got had by a lot of mechanics. They could smell my inability
inexperience
from a mile away. They knew. But you know what? I didn't care. I was doing this trip, and it didn't matter what happened along the way. I was going to do it. So I met some amazing mechanics, though, and one of them was in South Dakota. I took my bike in with an oil leak. The Savage notoriously leaks oil, and no matter what you do, it will leak. Yeah. But this one, I thought, it was dripping onto my my engine. It was really just smoking, and I was like, I can't. We need to have a look at this. Yeah. Dropped it in. They said, it needs to what do they say? Oh, we need to do all the gaskets. Okay.
All the gaskets.
All the gaskets.
Yeah, okay, sweet.
Fine. Do all the gaskets. Paid $900. And then they put the bike back together, and then they run it, and they go, oh, actually, this piston shot.
Yeah.
Top end rebuild. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No. And they said, look, we should have checked that.
Yeah,
we won't charge you for pulling it apart, but you obviously will need to pay to get the cylinder board out, new piston and whatever.
Yeah.
Another $900. So this is the price that I paid for the bike. And I was really weighing shit up. I'm like, okay, should I trade it and dump this thing?
I remember that point. Yeah.
I dump this thing, or should I get the work done and then, fingers crossed, I have what would be like a new lease on life with this thing. Exactly. And I'm glad that I did. Yeah. And after that, she ran like a dream. The oil leak was there.
Yeah.
Oil leak I went in with was still there.
It's a feature.
Yeah. Much like the screaming brakes, they're also always there.
Yeah.
But you know what? She lasted me the rest of the trip. We did
You did 48 states, and in case
48 states.
You don't know much about the United States, that's everywhere you can get to without going outside, over water or over into another country.
Yes.
That's everywhere.
And that was the mission. Yeah. Very poor time planner here. What happened is and it's like
no offense, by the way. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I had a mechanic where I started. He really checked the bike top to bottom before I left. He said that he was following me, and he was just like, you're never going to make it at this pace. You're spending 10 days in Washington, 10 days in Nebraska. Why are you doing that? Why are you spending 10 days in Nebraska? You have to get to Texas.
Yeah.
And as it happened, I had to spend 1 day in Texas because I was rushing that whole southern line of states. So
you were chasing snow at one point. Was that further onto the
that was
trip?
in the north. So I got stuck in a snowstorm in Vermont.
Okay.
I was also having to deal with COVID. So the New England, which is the northeastern segment, they would not let you stay overnight. So I had this crazy plan that I would do all 8, I think, of the New England states in one go.
No way.
Woke up at like the butt crack of dawn, off I went, and I got hit with rain and snow.
I remember following on that when that was happening, yeah.
Bad news. Anyway, needless to say, I did stay overnight there, but I made sure to stay in a place where there was no other people. So I've been camping this whole time. I couldn't camp in the snow, but this is the spirit of moto camping. I met a dad and a son at a gas station in Wyoming, or maybe it was South Dakota, somewhere random. We're both riding motorbikes, which means we're instantly we're yarning away on one.
Yeah.
And they said, in passing, we have this place in Vermont if you ever need it. And I had jotted down their details.
Yeah.
And I found myself in Vermont in a snowstorm. It's getting dark.
So this is
Take
sounds like I'm starting this video game, but I'm not. I'm experimenting with this setup. Hi everyone, I just made this in the last week. The white's a bit annoying in the film, whatever, it's cool. But we were in Vermont and you got the details from someone.
Oh yeah, okay. So
and you were like, message. You'd met them stuck in a snowstorm.
Yeah, I
This
met
is the
them
ultimate time.
months ago.
Yeah.
I met them months ago, and
Yeah.
and they had said this throwaway comment about how they had a place in Vermont. Should I ever need it?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to be passing through Vermont because I can't stay. Took down their details. Lo and behold, find myself in Vermont. Snowstorms hit. It's getting dark. I texted them, and sure, the keys under the mat. They're not there. It's their holiday home.
It's
and
awesome. That's so cool.
oh my gosh, the generosity. And the thing is that they trusted me because I was a fellow motor rider.
That's awesome.
And
That's
we
so
had a conversation too. You can judge a person's character from a conversation
Quite
usually.
quickly.
But we do, as motor riders, we definitely do trust each other. There's a certain type of person that goes out on their own and does this sort of thing. And even not on their own, but they were generous enough to let me stay, and I ended up staying a few nights, and then I was fully energized to get back on my trip, headed down the East Coast from Vermont.
Yeah.
But I never in a million years would have thought I would be driving in snow. And I can remember that's the scariest moment of my whole trip.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I have never ridden a motorcycle in snow. A couple of friends of mine were doing a cross-country trip, not cross-country, they're doing an adventure trail that's down in the centre of the North Island in the middle of winter, and there was snow up on the mountains, so they drove in their ute up to the mountain, got their bike off, and did a skid on and then got it back on. I'm like, this is cool. But riding through snow,
my tyres were just not up for it.
No.
They have minimal, is it tread?
Yeah.
They have minimal tread as it is, and they were just patched with snow, so it was like riding on just
slicks.
Just slicks, yeah. So I got all the way up my friend's driveway. There was this my friend, I just met this guy, but he is my friend now. Yeah. Shout out to Charlie. I was driving up, I say me and the bike. People would go, are you riding with someone? You keep saying we. I'm like, yeah, man.
The bike's a person too, right?
The last hill, up we go, and it's just too steep, and off we go. So that was that. And I had to bail once, and that was it. And the windscreen snapped off, and all the bits and pieces are flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Snow is bucketing down, but I've made it, you know?
it's the best place to do it.
I mean, I knew I was just a minute away. So, that's
really impressive. And so you had to do kind of a mad dash, because did you have a flight booked?
I did, and because of COVID, it was not. I couldn't miss it because you've got to book the hotel, the managed quarantine hotel, at the same time. So had I missed that flight, I would not be here right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you had done a lot of America and a lot of the United States in a long amount of time, and then that last bit, how many states would you have covered and at what time?
Oh, so I really started feeling the pressure. I mean, Texas. I rolled into Dallas. I had a friend there, and that was when I was like, I have about 96 hours to catch a flight from Texas, and drop my bike off, swap all my moto gear and put all my New Zealand gear, rent a car, get myself to the airport, put everything into storage. I had a storage unit. So then I was like doing the maths, and I was like, okay, you got to travel with a minimum of 400 miles a day, which is like 600 plus kilometers, a little more.
Yeah.
And it was freezing. I was driving across the mountains, and I had to cross over the Rockies as well. And I was like, just not equipped for it.
That is a long long day on a motorcycle.
Long day, and I woke up to -8 degrees in New Mexico, and here's one thing I never looked at: topography. Didn't realize that when you go up mountains, you're going to be really suffering with the cold up there. Happened to roll into New Mexico right up in the mountains. Woke up to -8. I had to wait until midday for it to get to 0. Yeah, before I could ride.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's incredible.
Yeah.
The distance is a big thing. When I was doing my small 8-day trip, we should have done it in like 15 days.
Oh,
yeah. We were like, what's 400 kilometers in a day?
Yeah.
And bear in mind, we're on small bikes. Like my daily commute on my Honda Wave, basically 100cc, and we were waking up, and this is the temperatures there. It's getting to 35 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day. You're fully equipped with all your gear, and you can't stop, and you've got 400 k's to do. You're waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, not finishing till 5. By 11 o'clock in the morning, you're starting to feel fatigued.
Yeah.
And it's not even lunchtime, and I'm like, oh, I'm yawning. What am I going to do? And it was just stop and piling back little caffeine drinks.
Yes, that's what I lived on. 5-hour energy.
Yeah.
Red Bull, all of it. The diet that you have on the road, everything else is amazing. You have great experiences. You meet amazing people. Memories you'll never forget. The diet goes out the window. Forget it. You're going to eat ramen noodles and energy drinks.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, good luck with that waistline.
Yeah, exactly. That's so cool. So, okay, you've done several incredible trips in different places around the world.
Yep.
But now you're not arguably, you're in the best country in the world now.
True. Shout out Aotearoa.
That's New Zealand, Aotearoa. We live in an incredible place, and you're going to be riding around the whole country.
Yeah, I'm home for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, so of course, once I finished that trip, I was itching to be back on the road, and I formulated the plan. I said, wow, okay, calculate how much money do I have in the bank?
Yeah.
And my dad, such a wonderful man. He messaged me and said I could use his bike. He's never let me use his bike before, but this America trip, I think maybe built a bit of credibility in the bank. So he said, you can take my bike. I had the bike. I had a little bit of savings left over, and I thought, it's summer, let's hit the road.
Perfect time.
North Island, South Island, Stewart Island. I'm going to do about a month on each, on the North and the South Islands.
You say that now. You say that now. It's going to be 2 months later, and you'll be like, well, I'm at Wellington, better go back.
Well, yeah, that's actually my track record.
Yeah.
So the reason that I have to stick to a schedule is I'm a wedding celebrant, so I'm marrying couples along the way.
Okay.
I've got old friends that have booked me in. I've got 4 weddings this summer, and they're staggered month by month. So I actually have to be in places by certain times.
Yeah.
Or people aren't going to get married.
No,
so
exactly. Yeah. You're kind of essential on this trip. That's awesome. That's so incredible. So New Zealand is a relatively small country. Lengthwise, we're about the same length as Japan. We're a really, really small country people-wise. There's a lot of wide empty spaces. You've got a lot of coastal roads. There is a lot of roads that are inland and stuff like that, but I think no place in New Zealand is more in a straight line than 130 kilometres from the ocean.
Oh.
So our country's really narrow and long, and there's 2 main islands to it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where you cover. And the South Island in winter traditionally really cold, but in summer it's hotter than the North Island.
Yeah.
The hottest temperature I've ever had in New Zealand was 42 degrees in Darfield in the South Island in like January, February.
Oh, okay. I'm saving the South till March.
Yeah, good. Wise move. So it'll be a really incredible trip, and it's just so cool to see someone that is from the same area as me, doing cool things. I will be out on the road just as much as you when the world allows, and I'm on the road here all the time, as everyone sees on my channel. If you're watching this really recently after it's released, go and check out your channel. Is it called Kiwicruisette?
Kiwicruisette on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm sort of editing longer episodes on there. I'm Lunch Cutter Productions.
Lunch Cutter Productions. Yeah. And that's been around for a very, very long time. That's what you were releasing stuff on when you were living overseas.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Little rap video.
Is that your rap video from Saigon?
Yeah.
That was so cool. That went semi-viral.
It did, I know.
Anyway, I'll link that in the description if you want to check it out. Future plans after this, you're going to go back to the States, right?
Yeah. They have a lot of great jobs.
Yeah.
New Zealand's so small that it's kind of a little hard to get into bigger industries. So I will go back there in April. Yeah. But yeah, so for the next, it's January now. I've got until April. I'm going to be doing moto camping trip around New Zealand, living in my tent, doing all the islands, and really, I want to interview Kiwis about what it means to live in our beautiful country.
Absolutely.
People all around the world are in lockdown. They're stuck in their homes. They're bored to tears.
Yeah, 100%.
They want to see what's happening. Yeah. And then I got to get back to the States. So I had to get a job then. My God, people must be wondering, how are you doing this? Yeah, I know. If you live in a tent, it's pretty cheap, and you eat ramen.
And Nikki's come on the scene last year with this motorcycle adventure to a much wider audience. I've known you for a long time, and before that, you were working. And yes, there'll be trips here and there, but you were working full time, non-stop for a few years.
Yeah,
so,
I actually was one of those corporate people with the laptops and things.
Yeah, you know, desks and offices. Yeah.
I went to meetings and I said words that I still don't know what they mean.
Yeah, exactly. So people always wonder, how do you make these trips happen? It's just, if you really, 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 and I mean really want this to happen more than anything else, it will happen. It might not happen tomorrow. But if you sit there and make a plan, anything's possible. And hearing about the way you rode through the middle of Mongolia just with a blue dot and following it, I've wondered, because that's always been a thing for me. I'd love to go to Mongolia, but you're riding in the middle of nowhere, heck, you know. And people will watch this channel and think, oh, well, he's done random trips all over the show, speaks another language to other people, and I have, but riding bikes by yourself can still be scary.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm some god of motorcycling, because I'm heck no, you know, I'm just getting into it. This is the beginning of my motorcycling career, you could say.
Heck
and as long as I can stand up, I'll be riding. So
that's it.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's so cool to have you here and talk about this, and for me to learn a lot more about your motorcycle life that I've always wondered, because we just talk online all the time. But you know what it's like. You send a couple of messages really intently, and then one of you will get
slip
just
off.
I've got to go somewhere, do something, different time zones, and then it'll be like 2 weeks. 3 weeks, months, and it doesn't matter. It picks up where it left off, but it's so cool to sit down face to face and have this chat with you. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll be doing more like this with other interesting people, because there's a lot of them in New Zealand, and the world likes what we do, what Kiwis do. Our attitude's unique, and there's not much that we won't do. Yeah. Maybe we just need to have a couple of beers first.
No, I mean, we're already up to that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn the camera off now, and we can be normal people.
All right. Shout out to foamers.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.